This week's Webdvar is sponsored by Adam and Michelle Malik in memory of Michelle's father, Mr. Philip Jacobson, Pinchas Chaim Meir ben Kalman, Zichron Livracha, may His Neshama have an aliyah. The kior was a large vessel which contained a tremendous amount of water, which was placed in the Mishkan, and it was used by the Kohanim to wash their hands and feet before going in to do the avoda, to do the service in the Mishkan. And we're told by the Torah that this kior was made out of copper, and on the outside of the kior there were mirrors. These mirrors, these maros hatzovos, were donated by the women to the Mishkan. Rashi explains to us that when the women donated these mirrors, Moshe was uncertain as to whether he wanted to accept their donation. And the reason was, Moshe saw the Mishkan as being something which was completely spiritual. And here, these mirrors represented the Yetzer Hara, represented the evil inclination, represented vanity. And Moshe didn't think that they had a place, this physical sense, within the spiritual feeling of the Mishkan. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God said to Moshe, these are chavivin alai mikulam. These are more dear to me than any other donation. And why is that the case? When the Bnei Yisrael, when the Jewish people were in Mitzrayim, over the course of time, there was a fear that they wouldn't continue to have children. And one of the reasons was that they were enslaved in such a harsh way that they were exhausted, and they didn't have the time to show affection to their wives when they came home. And so because of that, their wives sprung into action. They took their mirrors and they played a little game with their husbands in which they look at each other in the mirrors, and lo and behold, over the course of time, the affection was restored between them, and the Jewish people were able to continue to populate in Mitzrayim. And so Hashem says to Moshe, these are not just simply mirrors, these are very important pieces of Jewish history. They need to have a place in the Mishkan. The Toldos Yaakov Yosef explains that there's great significance to the fact that when the Kohanim washed their hands and feet and looked at the kior, because that's where they were getting the water from, they were able to see the reflection in the mirrors of the kior itself. And he says that that was a necessity, lest one think that the Kohanim, because of who they were, would become arrogant and think that they were better than everyone else, or that they did not sin in a certain circumstance, so that when all of the avodah, when all of the service was done in the Mishkan, that they would think that was for everyone else, but not for them. To make sure that they had a sense of humility, they were to look at these mirrors, because we all know that whenever we look into a mirror, we're able to see deep inside of ourselves. We're able to see beyond the physical, facial appearance, but we're able to see deep into our souls as to who we truly are. That's the message of the Maros Hatzovos, these mirrors, and why they were so important to be accepted as a donation to the Mishkan, and why the Kohanim had to see them when washing their hands before they went to atone for the Jewish people. It's an important expression of a sense of humility, that we as human beings, that we as Jews, have to always walk around being humble people, and learn our humility from the Kohanim, and from the Mishkan, and from the kior that was used in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu during the time of the Mishkan and later in the Beis HaMikdash. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.